and only DNVR. 2 goes out to Zac, Mase, Arcade, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Nothing supposed to wait for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with Breck, Brew, and a friend bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR. We are coming to you live today from Studio C. The C stands for Can You Believe It? No Broncos in the Pro Bowl. We'll talk about it a little bit more here in just a second. But first, a shout out to our friends over at MSU Denver Online, the best place in looking to further education, working a full-time job. MSU Denver students work twice as many hours as students attending any other college or institution. So it is the best place to go to work and get your education, to hopefully get a better job on the other side of it. It's a great place to go with professors who bring the real world into the classroom. So check out our friends, msudenver.edu/online.
My boys, what's up? Not only Raider week, but Christmas week. I mean, are you kidding me right now, guys?
I had no idea that it was the 23rd.
Happy Festivus, by the way, because today is a holiday in a manner of speaking.
It is. I was just going about my day thinking like, okay, so like got this day and then one more day and then Christmas Eve. Nope, that is totally wrong.
I hope that doesn't mean that you haven't done any shopping yet.
Oh, you know, who's to say? Who's to really say?
You know, I wouldn't put it past you to be a December 24th shopper.
Yeah, are the stores open still on Christmas Eve?
Oh yeah, like the malls I think are open until about 6 o'clock or so. But
wow.
Gosh, I actually saw some place, and I don't know if it was a grocery store or something else that was open until like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, which stunned me. Usually things kind of close up early on Christmas Eve, but not this.
Yeah, I'd prefer to see those people get to go home a little earlier than that.
Yeah,
seriously.
And then of course there's like the 24-hour. Oh, I think I want to say it was Target that for some reason was open kind of late on Christmas Eve, and then of course you have the 24-hour Walgreens, and that is the spot of last resort. In particular, the 24-hour Walgreens at Colorado and Mississippi, because
there you go.
That's the only once you get past like the 0 hour on Christmas Eve, that's the only place where you can find anything that maybe somewhat resembles a gift. Maybe you can get some cologne or perfume, or they have some toys if you've got a small selection of toys.
Sounds like you're an expert on this, Mase.
I've had to do it once.
Yeah, I've still, got a couple things left to get, but it's no big deal. I got the big stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
Also, this is hopefully no one in my family is listening to this. I feel like since I'm the youngest, I can just get away with a lot more. Like no one really expects anything of me.
It's true. It's a perfect place to be. You can get away with a lot more by giving a lot less.
Ooh.
See, I'm trying to step my game up in that regard, but if for some reason they were to know that I was, finishing up the shopping on the 24th, I don't think anyone could really be mad at me.
As long as you have it by the 24th evening or the 25th, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do the evening. Is that what you do too? For presents?
We do it all. We do 25th night, 25th morning, 25th afternoon, 25th night. I mean, we're
Wait, is this
booked.
like you with a burrito bowl from Chipotle, spreading it out across the whole week?
That's it. What if I just brought up my own burrito bowl for Christmas Eve, and then it just lasted me all day the next day?
Hey,
you guys might as well just do Hanukkah at this point and just do 8 different days of presents.
Well, it's 12 days of Christmas,
meal.
Right? I mean, there's if you really want to kind of live up to the song, you can stretch it out for 12 days, which has its meaning religiously speaking, but I prefer the Bob and Doug McKenzie 12 Days of Christmas, where you've got Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Boxing Day, And then you got the Saturdays and Sundays around that, and then the 3 days, which are the mystery days of Christmas.
Mystery days. All right. Well, speaking of gifts, a couple of Broncos, especially, two in particular, were robbed of a gift in the eyes of many guys, as no Denver Broncos were selected for the Pro Bowl. I'm frankly shocked. Now, it's funny because, I was in a grumpy mood on Monday when we first talked about this, and before the show, you guys were like, all right, we're going to talk about which Broncos deserve Pro Bowl nods, and I was like, no one. And then, I calmed down a little bit after that, and was talked into. I realized that I was not thinking of Pat Surtain at the moment, and was pretty passionate about that. And both of you guys were really passionate about Justin Simmons being in there. And honestly, the more that I've seen since that conversation, you guys were convincing, and then just all the different things, the stats and all the stuff that's been posted since then. I'm kind of on that train now too. So, I guess, Zach, I'll start with you. Just your reaction to the Broncos getting no Pro Bowl nods.
Yeah, shocked. I mean, guys, this is the best team we've seen in Denver in 5-ish years, and 0 Pro Bowlers, and there were 7 teams that didn't get a Pro Bowler. Every other team had 4 or fewer wins, except the Denver Broncos, who are 7-7. And guys, I think we were really fair about this when we talked about it earlier in the week. We didn't say this 7-7 team should have 4, 5, 6, 7 Pro Bowlers. No, we said they should have 2 Pro Bowlers on one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, we also threw out Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon's name, but said they probably shouldn't get it. And I think we were right about those guys. And what's funny enough is Vic Fangio, those are the 4 guys he mentioned. So we hit it spot on when talking about this, but shocked that Justin Simmons didn't make it, and really surprised that Pat Surtain didn't make it. But as Mase mentioned earlier this week, that's exactly what happened with Champ Bailey. His rookie season, he played like a Pro Bowler, was on the national stage, just didn't get it that year, and then got it, 12 of the next 13 years? I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we see that exact same path for Pat Surtain.
Yeah, and of course, you've got them both being first alternates. So the chances are, if there is a Pro Bowl to be played, and I think with Omicron, spreading right now, I think we may not be talking about a Pro Bowl being played because it's basically an irrelevant game. But if there is a Pro Bowl to be played, there's a very good chance that at least one of those safeties and one of those corners is going to opt out of the game, which would set it up nicely for both Simmons and Surtain to get what they deserve, which is being in the Pro Bowl. And you know what? Champ Bailey, he had a Pro Bowl where he was an alternate. It was February of 2011, or January of 2011, pardon me, after the 2010 season. And if you make the Pro Bowl as an alternate, but you move on up historically, there's no asterisk by it. You're still a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
You can make the case that in the second half of the season, the Denver Broncos have had the best defense in the NFL. And you can make a really compelling case. Here is the craziest stat I've seen about this. I don't know if you guys saw this today. This came out from Warren Sharp. Since week 8, offenses are averaging 16.6 points per game against the Broncos. That's very impressive. Not as impressive as what I'm about to tell you after that. In the very next game after those games, the same offenses that the Broncos are holding to 16.6 points per game are averaging 38.5 points per game. A 22-point difference between what they're doing against the Broncos and then the very next week after that. And so because of that, that's why I think, man, the best defense in football in the second half of the season has to have a representative at the Pro Bowl.
Absolutely, and that's just a mind-blowing stat, and that's not only credit to Vic Fangio, but it's also a credit to these players, because why would the team the next week not try to take Vic Fangio's defensive approach against those guys? Well, the reason will be is because they don't have the Jimmies and Joes in order to do that, and so that's a big credit to the Broncos guys. And guys, this brings us to the conversation of, isn't this another selling point for George Payton to keep Vic Fangio? Look, I mean, Vic Fangio, we knew that it took, and when they hired Vic Fangio, we talked about how it takes really 3 years for his defense to get elite. That's what happened in San Francisco. That's what happened in Chicago. That's what's happening right now. This defense in the third year is elite, especially these final 8 games. And boy, if you want a really good defense in this division, it's clear Vic Fangio's your guy. And then on top of that, not only that stat you just mentioned, Ryan, but also he's doing this without any Pro Bowlers, huh? 7-7. What's this about? Do we need to be giving more credit to the coaching staff on both sides of the ball?
I saw Mike Kliss make this point last night, and I had to grab my eyes off the ground as they almost rolled away. Those two things have no correlation. People not being smart enough to vote, Pat Surtain into the Pro Bowl does not give Vic Fangio extra credit.
I think though, what obviously Pat Surtain and Justin Simmons should have been Pro Bowlers, but guys, when we had this conversation earlier this week, we talked about how those two should be Pro Bowlers, and then we said Melvin and Javonte probably should be Pro Bowlers if they were bell cows. If they weren't on the same team, they would each be Pro Bowlers. We didn't say anyone else. And it's not like we're saying that there should have been 7 snubs here.
Well, I think also, you can argue Draymond Jones is having a Pro Bowl worthy season in terms of pressures, but there's always something that works against 3-4 defensive ends, and that is that compared to 4-3 edges, they're not going to get as many sacks, and that's something that kind of you lean on as well. Another thing on this defense, it's just kind of, what metric do you use? There's the stuff from Sharp Football Stats, but also Football Outsiders and DVOA has the Broncos 21st, and that does factor in the situations faced as well as the quality of the opponents. So, you've got some data that says this defense is all world. There's some data that says this defense is not as great as it might appear on the surface.
And here's what I wanted to say is I could care less about the Pro Bowl. It is so irrelevant. But if we're going to continue to use it as a negotiating tactic, as something that triggers escalators in contracts, as something that is important to these players and the amount of money that they make, then we got to do a better job and come up with a better solution for how we're going to pick this. I have no doubts that Pat Surtain will get his Pro Bowl bid before he, his 5th-year option is up. But that's another thing, is if you make a Pro Bowl before that 5th-year option, you get a little escalator in that contract. So there's little things like that I'm like, okay, it's kind of like how I feel about the Hall of Fame. Like, I want to not care about the Hall of Fame, but then the players care about it. And, they feel like it's really important to their legacy. And I'm like, all right, well, now I have to care about it because, previously I'm like, I can't stand the fact that Steve Atwater, feels like that's the missing piece of his legacy. You know what I mean? This is a little different than that, but it's like, man, so like these guys are going to miss out on money because, people think that Bradley Chubb is having a better season than, any of these other guys. It's just, I don't know, shocking.
Yeah, and Ed Donatel said it today. He said to expect Justin Simmons to be in the All-Pro mix. And the All-Pro mix is really the more important. It's the more validating one. It's the one that has a lot more impact. And it also means that it's more legitimate, and it means you're better. And so that's honestly, we should, if we want to keep doing the Pro Bowl, it should just be a fan thing. And then we should never focus on Pro Bowls when we're talking about Hall of Fame, when we're talking about someone's career, and just focus it all to that All-Pro, because that's really the only thing that makes sense. Guys, I put this out on Twitter last night. Bradley Chubb, third alternate to the Pro Bowl. There's a chance that he could make the Pro Bowl in a year where he played 5 games, 0 sacks, has not been a big part of this defense at all. Maybe one game, maybe last week, he had the biggest impact on defense. And the fact that he got credit for and is getting some involvement in the Pro Bowl just shows you how broken the system is.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out here is that fans do have a big part in this. And I think a little bit of this has to do with Broncos fan fatigue. in terms of this team just consistently underachieving and not being exciting. You know, we talk about how they're bad and boring. And bad and boring is the worst combination you could be in sports. And maybe you make the case that they're average and boring this year, and I'll listen to that. But on the whole, for the last 5 years, they've been bad and boring. And I think what that's done is had a long-term effect on the fan base of like not being as excited for stuff like this. And I don't necessarily blame the fans, but you know, the fans are who's upset about this, and the fans do have a role in it. So I'm not saying, oh, it's your fault, but I understand why people are less excited about going out there and, you know, campaigning for their guys to make the Pro Bowl. I remember, you know, even 2016, like this time of year, or a little bit before this time of year, my timeline would just be full of people. Vote for, you know, so-and-so for the Pro Bowl. Vote for so-and-so for the Pro Bowl. I didn't see any of it this year. None. The one thing I see is the Justin Simmons, Walter Payton Man of the Year stuff. But I didn't see anyone pushing for Pro Bowl votes on Twitter this year.
Well, I think when you're struggling as a team, if you spend a lot of time kind of plugging Pro Bowl, it's one of those things that maybe it doesn't look good on the surface, right? Okay, like, hey, it's focused on this individual honor. Ignore the barn that's burning over there, but we're going to focus on the individual thing that really doesn't matter nearly as much. And I think so. There's kind of a PR aspect to it that if you push too hard to promote your guys for the Pro Bowl, it sends, as a team, as an organization, it sends the message that maybe you're not focused or are otherwise inattentive to further the crises that are affecting the team's form, which, I mean, I think that you can debate whether that's valid or not, but it's kind of a perception thing.
Well, I mean, why were the Broncos the only team with more than 4 wins that didn't have a Pro Bowler? I mean, that's, and to me, I think it just goes back to how irrelevant the team has been. To start the season, they had one primetime game, and it was a primetime game that everyone had to have, the Thursday night primetime game. That right there is telling you the country doesn't care about the Broncos. And then they're 7-7. They're okay. They're an average team, but they haven't been relevant at all for years. Justin Simmons, yes, he finally got his credit with an All-Pro and a Pro Bowl. Garrett Bowles also got his credit last year, but those aren't household names in the NFL right now, you know? In order for it to be a safety, who do you think of when you think of safeties' names? You think of Jamal Adams. Why? Because he's been in New York, because he's had all this drama surrounding him. You just don't think of safeties like that, and Justin Simmons, unfortunately, falls in the category of pretty much every other safety, and he was the guy that was going to get the Pro Bowl nod for the Broncos, and it just shows you when you've been irrelevant, you're not just going to get those nods.
Speaking of irrelevant, you know who did make the Pro Bowl?
Who?
Jamar Chase. You know what Jamar Chase did in 10 coverage snaps against Pat Surtain this last week?
Nothing.
Bupkis.
Not 0 catches. This is more important than that. 0 targets. Joe Burrow looked over there, saw Pat Surtain and Jamar Chase, and said, I'm going elsewhere. Sorry, Jamar, you're done. That's all I need to know. If he's a Pro Bowler and he can't even get a sniff when Pat Surtain is on him, Pat Surtain should be a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, and that's just what Pat Surtain has been all year. And when quarterbacks have tried to throw in his way, he's picked them off. And we saw that with Justin Herbert, who's having a heck of a season as well. Was Justin Herbert a Pro Bowler this year?
Yes.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So, boom, there you go. When Justin Herbert threw Pat Surtain's way, it turned into 2 picks, including a pick 6.
Yep, Herbert, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson were the quarterbacks.
All 3 on the Broncos schedule this year.
Man, and to be fair, the only argument, well, Mase, I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, the other thing is also, I mean, was Joe Burrow with the first alternate when was he pretty far up too? I mean,
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I mean, it's just hey, Surtain has done well against some really good quarterbacks. I mean, really kind of, if you look back, the worst moment for Pat Surtain was probably in the first game.
Yeah,
when he got beat.
Yep, exactly. And what I was going to say was, if anyone tries to make an argument against Justin Simmons making the Pro Bowl, it would be the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, where Justin pretty much admitted every single week, we're having communication issues. And he said he didn't put it on the new guys or anything. And it was clear that he was also involved in those communication issues. And the Broncos did get torched. And the last time the Broncos got torched was against the Raiders, which may make this week a little interesting. Derek Carr threw for over 340 yards on the Broncos. The secondary was getting torched. So if someone wants to make the case against Justin making the Pro Bowl, that's a fair argument right there. But that was only like a quarter of the season. I think Justin rebounded and the secondary rebounded extremely well. But to put this on Pat Surtain, I don't think Pat Surtain got, just like you said, Mase, got beat on that one play against the Giants. Outside of that, it's not like he had 4 or 5 bad games. He's been great, and that's honestly why I think Pat Surtain deserved it even more.
And the thing is, great players have a bad game, right? Mahomes has had multiple bad games this year. Justin Herbert had a bad game throwing at Pat Surtain. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I do feel like Justin Simmons was, even though it wasn't a national TV game, I do feel like Justin Simmons was kind of hurt a little bit by one bad game. And I know that there are people in the social media sphere who say, well, he hasn't had that good of a season. Okay, he had a bad game. He's played lights out since then. I mean, that's why it's always important to kind of separate the feelings of a bad moment or a really good moment, get the broader sample size, trust that, and that says that Justin Simmons should have been in the Pro Bowl.
Last thing I want to say here about that crazy stat I read earlier about the Broncos defense since week 8. This was pointed out by AJ Schulte on Twitter. You know what changed in week 8 for the Broncos?
Von Miller out of the lineup.
Baron Browning.
Baron Browning became a full-time starter in week 8, and Vaughn was right around there as well.
Vaughn was inactive for the Washington game.
Right.
So playing without Vaughn started in that game as well.
It's crazy, but it truly was addition by subtraction with Vaughn. And I'm not putting that as a negative against Vaughn. You just can't look at the numbers and say it otherwise.
Yeah. And you know, it's more fun to just give more credit to Baron Browning, so that's where I'll go. But I do think, you know, I said it then. You know, there's a chance that it just kind of forces everyone else to stop looking over at Vaughn on third down and saying, hey, maybe Vaughn makes a play for us here. You know, everyone feels like they got to go do it themselves. That's the way it should be. But Baron Browning, man, another feather in the cap for George Payton. They just keep adding up.
Yep.
All right. Before we move on, want to let you guys know about our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery, the absolute best. Damn good beers over at Breckenridge Brewery. And what better time than now to go get yourself that Christmas ale mini keg. You're gonna be heading up to, you know, your family's house or wherever you're going. Bring over a little mini keg of that Christmas ale. It's delicious. And it will be a hit. I mean, it's the branding on there is beautiful. You prop it up, you know, in the kitchen and create your own little water cooler at the family Christmas. So go get yourself some Christmas ale. Enjoy some damn good beers from Breckenridge Brewery.
And you gotta swing by the DNVR bar. Now is the time where we've got pretty much all 3 sports going. You gotta come by for a Nuggets watch party, Avs watch party, and of course a Broncos watch party. We're gonna have a great one when the Broncos are still in the playoff mix against the Chargers in 9 days from now. The DNVR bar, we've got happy hour every single day. And guys, also join our family so that you can leave comments that will be read on this pod. Go to thednvr.com and subscribe to join our family. You'll get a free DNVR shirt when you do. Some of my friends just did from out of state. They got their shirts all ready by Christmas time. It's a great gift to give someone too if you want to give them a shirt or if you want to give them a membership. Make sure to do that. Join us at thednvr.com.
Of course, I mean, get yourself a membership if you haven't gotten one. Just because Christmas has passed doesn't mean you can't treat yourself with a DNVR membership. And you can also treat yourself and treat your pubes, treat your balls with something from Manscaped. See, Zach keeps using pubes, and I feel like I got to match him by getting my pubic game up in terms of the words I use. So, look, It's too late to make a Manscaped order for Christmas because we're sitting here on Festivus, but it's not too late to get what you want for the new year. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Anything from Manscaped. Of course, we tell you about that performance package, and it's got the Lawnmower 4.0, which will take down every pube in its path. You don't want to have your pubes getting in the way of making 2022 much better than 2021. And that's why you should take advantage of the performance package and get that Lawnmower 4.0. Get the Crop Reviver. Get that ball deodorant that will make sure you're smelling good down below. And there's more than that. You can even get cologne from Manscaped. You can smell like $1,000,000 with Manscaped's refined cologne. And it's got that same signature scent. It makes your undercarriage smell good. That scent can make your face smell good. It'll really attract anyone to you when you use that Manscaped refined cologne. And guess what? The best part of it is you can get a sale. You're going to see day after Christmas sales all over the place. Well, you don't need a day after Christmas sale to take advantage of the discounts from Manscaped. All you need is the code DNVR to get 20% off and plus free shipping at manscaped.com. So check out everything at Manscaped. Hey, maybe you want some body wash. They've got ultra premium body wash. I'm using the Manscaped body wash on a daily basis. I think I've never smelled better. I don't know if Zach and RK agree, but that's just how I feel. That's how good the body wash is. So check out everything at manscaped.com. If you didn't get what you want for Christmas, take advantage of the code DNVR to get 20% off what you really want and have yourself groomed well and smelling good going into 2022. Manscaped.com. Remember the code DNVR for 20% off and free shipping.
I pulled this up when you were talking about the bar because I ran into our guy Jason yesterday at the DNVR bar. Always great meeting people down there. We had the little ugly sweater party going on. Jason didn't wear his, but I wore mine, and it was a good time down there at the DNVR bar. So shout out to Jason for coming all the way from Virginia, or as May says, Virginia. Well,
it depends what part of the state
DNVR bar.
What part of Virginia is Jason from?
Northern, I believe.
Then they say Virginia. Yeah, you got to get down to Richmond, and you got to get up in the hills before you start getting any kind of real accent kicking in.
There you go. All right, it's time for us to go on the record here, boys, with some Broncos predictions and more. But let's start with this Raiders game. I have to say, just a few hours ago, my feelings on this game changed.
Yep, me as well, guys. And of course, for me, it was last week before the Broncos even played their game. I really liked the Broncos to beat Raiders, regardless of what happened in the Bengals game. But then Drew Lock came in the game, and we knew Teddy was going to be out. So that, I didn't like that. But as this week went on, I started to like it more because, guys, there's no doubt in my mind this Denver Broncos team is much better than the Las Vegas Raiders team. But the Raiders have the quarterback, right? And that's kind of what I always fall back on. But I was kind of liking, okay, Drew's only going to throw the ball 20 times. Broncos are going to run 40 times. And then we find out that Lloyd Cushenberry is most likely out of this game. And, I mean, we learned it last year, guys. A new young center with a new young quarterback is not a good combination. It's either going to be Austin Schlottman or it's going to be Quinn Meinerz at center. That scares me too much. I can't do it, guys. I mean, this whole offense is going to be led by two new guys from the center position and the quarterback. I can't do it. Even though the Broncos are the better team, I think they struggle too much. I think this Broncos defense shuts down the Raiders offense, but I can't put my faith in this offense right now. I'm going to go with a slugfest. It's going to be 19-16 Raiders.
Oh man.
Tough.
Wow.
All right. Mase, you want to go next or me?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. There are obviously, if Cushenberry can't play, it's a profound impact on the offensive line as well. But I think we'll see Austin Schlottman in all likelihood. There's also the possibility that like Zach said, Meinerz goes in and Netani Muti plays at guard. But I don't think that's going to affect the ability of the Broncos offensive line to generate some power, especially when they run the ball. And yeah, maybe I'm trusting Pat Shurmur too much, but I think he's going to understand that, You got to run and keep running. The Raiders offense, we've talked about what they are without Henry Ruggs, but they've also been without Darren Waller. They might be without him on Sunday. He hadn't played the last few weeks. And you take Ruggs out, you take Waller out. This is not an explosive attack. The Broncos should be able to contain it, which means that you can keep emphasizing the run. I really hope the play calling looks very similar to what we're seeing with the Colts, with Jonathan Taylor and Carson Wentz only passing the ball 12 times. The best part for the Broncos is they have two guys who can carry the freight. I want Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams each to touch the ball 20 times in this game. I think that's possible. That's a possibility. If the Broncos do that and they contain this relatively punchless Raiders offense, I think it's a comfortable win for the Broncos. Denver 27, Las Vegas 13.
Ooh, love it. I love that, Mase. Zach picked the Raiders, and then we just ejected him off the podcast. Like, is it Will Ferrell and Austin Powers who keeps getting sent down the
Yes.
Send him right down.
He keeps asking, "You shot me in the leg.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?"
Yeah, so good. Anyways, all right. So all week, what have I been saying, guys? Weird things happen to the Broncos in holiday games, and I can't. I have such a hard time shaking that feeling, but. I randomly last night remembered something that I said on the podcast weeks ago. It was actually during the bye week. And I was predicting the rest of the schedule. And I said, look, I already know what's going to happen with this team. They're going to beat the Chargers. Everyone's going to get excited. Then they're going to lose to the Chiefs. Then they're going to beat the Lions. And everyone's going to get excited. And then they're going to lose to the Bengals. And then they're going to beat the Raiders. And then they're going to lose to the Chargers. And it's 4-0 so far. So I have to stick with that. I said it back then. I got to roll with it. I think that they're going to be. It's interesting here. I think that there's a chance that we see them actually scheme towards Drew. I know that sounds crazy to most people listening, but I'm actually going to be confident that they come out in 2 tight end sets, avoid 3 wide for the most part, get under center, run the ball, like you said, 40 times. And I think there's a possibility that all of that comes together for the Broncos. Like I said, I've been seeing this script play out in my head, and this is part of the script. The Broncos have one last chance to keep everyone, to pull everyone back in one more time and then let them down again. And that starts, of course, with a win this week. Broncos beat the Raiders 20-17. 20-17.
Last second field goal by Brandon McManus, perhaps.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, last second field goals have worked against the Raiders this year. I mean, that's one of the they'd be in a playoff spot right now if Washington had not hit a last second field goal a few weeks back. So, the Raiders have had some, they've been on both sides of kind of the heart-stopping end, and hey, it'd be a lot of fun if it went down to the wire like that as well. But the thing I can't get past is that the elements of the Raiders offense that made them really difficult to deal with for the Broncos in recent years, you take out Ruggs and you take out Darren Waller, and I think it's not that Hunter Renfro and Brian Edwards aren't going to make plays. I just don't think they're going to make enough of them against this secondary and this defense for the Broncos to have to be in chase mode in this game.
Do you guys think Hunter Renfro is a super slot and in the category of the Brandon Stokeleys and the Wes Welkers and the Julian Edelmans of the world, like Vic Fangio said yesterday?
Yeah,
he's getting there. Yes, he is.
Yep, I do feel it. Although, wouldn't we put Cooper Kupp in that, who arguably has a case to be the best ever?
Wouldn't he be? I just feel like he may be even in a different tier because he may be even like more than that, more of an outside receiver too. But I mean, absolutely. If you're including him in this conversation, then absolutely.
Well, Aqib Talib yesterday on Good Morning Football said Cooper Kupp's bigger than him, which just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
they were teammates, and he's like, yeah, Cooper Kupp's taller than me and heavier than me.
Wow, that Cooper Kupp is so freaking good.
Why do you think there's that perception that he's small? That's an interesting thing.
Because he's white and plays in the slot. And most of those guys are small. Hunter Renfro's small. Braxton Berrios is small. Wes Welker was small.
I know. I just don't get the perception. I mean, if people actually look at Cooper Kupp, they wouldn't think that way about him.
So you're not looking at him, Ryan, or what? What's your deal?
I just think that you just see that guy there. You just imagine, oh, he's quick, so he must be small.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, didn't we know Hunter Renfro was going to be good? I mean, didn't everyone know he was going to be good? Yet somehow he said, I'm not saying he necessarily a first round pick, but didn't he go in the 4th round? But everyone was like, this guy can play football. He's going to be good.
I want to say it was the 5th round maybe, but the thing that kept coming up is that, okay, he's not, his time speed isn't great. His timed quickness numbers were just okay, and he had small hands. Like everything measurable in terms of combine pre-draft said this guy's not going to hold up. But then, okay, just watch the film and then look at what he's producing on a game-by-game basis. Despite all of this, Hunter Renfro kept getting open at Clemson and then got down to the Senior Bowl, and he kept getting open. I mean, at that point, the time speed, the time quickness numbers, they have to be secondary to what the guy's actually putting out there on the field.
One thing that we don't think about nearly enough when we're evaluating these guys, it's just natural for everyone to think of the NFL as a man-to-man league. Can Hunter Renfro run faster than Chris Harris or whoever it may be? And the answer is no, he can't. But there's so much zone being played in the NFL that if you just know where to go, you're going to be able to get open several times. And he actually can win in man coverage. It's not he can only be used in zone because he's crafty. But, he wins.
Oh, there's another word.
It's true. It's true. He does use his craft to get himself open. But, he's so smart. And that's something that Cooper Kupp has as well. Cooper Kupp's basically just a wide receiver running, or a quarterback running down the field, knowing exactly where the holes are in the defense. You heard him break down that touchdown that he had, whatever it was, a few weeks ago, and he's like, oh, man, he sounds like a quarterback. But, yeah, Hunter Renfro, for me, the biggest miss there was from the Texans. I absolutely would have paired up Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfro. It's just because they were the same year, didn't they? They came out after winning.
I believe they were a year apart, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so he was before Deshaun?
I think he was after.
Oh, okay. Well, if he was after, then yeah, they should have.
Because Deshaun was 2017, right?
Yes.
I thought Hunter Renfro was 18.
He played another year without Deshaun. Man, I don't remember that, but it's possible.
With Kelly Bryant.
Oh, Kelly Bryant. Yeah. And
enough Hunter Renfro talk. And this is disgusting, guys.
I think he got 1 year with Trevor Lawrence too.
Oh my God! Okay. Or maybe it was the year that he got. So
it was 2 years. It was 2 years apart.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, I still think the Texans should have brought him in.
They should have. Yes, absolutely.
What got us there? Why did we start talking about Hunter? Oh, you
guys just couldn't stop talking about Hunter Renfro. I stopped talking about him because the Broncos have Bryce Callahan. He's just going to smother him this week. I'm not worried about the Broncos defense. They're going to do very well against the Raiders. But guys, I hope I'm wrong about the offense. I hope the offense is able to put up 20 points and beat this, because then the Broncos will still be in the playoff mix. I don't want to be talking about an irrelevant team the next 2 games.
Real quick, I just want to address a comment here after I said they're not going to go 3 wide, which will help Drew. Cole came in and said, no, hell no, actually go 3 wide. That's what Locke's play style is. Why would they be dumb and not use them correctly? I think that's a misnomer that's come from the fact that he came out of a spread offense in college. But most of his success in the NFL has come from play action, under center, actually, pistol, that sort of stuff. And Drew's at his worst when he's pressured. Now, most quarterbacks are, but he really falls off heavily when he gets pressured. When you go 3 wide, you expose yourself to more pressure. There's an old saying, don't call what you can't protect.
Yeah.
Pat Shurmur just never heard that saying because he loves to call plays that they can't protect.
And there's another thing as well. The thing that if you get him under center and you do the play fake boot action, first of all, I'd like to see Eric Saubert in the backfield as a fullback replacing Andrew Beck, because it does work well with the I formation. Second of all, you run play fake boot action and Drew Lock is only looking at one side of the one half of the field. He's going to have guys at 2 or 3 levels downfield to choose from, but it narrows his field of vision. And that's something that he's flourished in. Whereas when he just goes in the shotgun, 3 wide, the field of vision is sideline to sideline. That's an area in which he struggled. Yes, he's going to have to grow in that area to blossom long-term as a quarterback, but I don't think that can be your focus for this game. It's not about Drew Lock developing and taking more steps forward. It's about catering to what he does best right now to help the team. Even though that skill set may not be all that you want it to be, just make sure you're focused on what he does best. And he does better when he's kind of got half the field to work with and is focused on that. So I really want to see plenty of that in this game, guys.
Okay,
right,
guys. I want to get your Drew Lock stat prediction. Seems like you guys are both going like 39 of 40, 410 yards, couple touchdowns, no picks. So is that what you're going with?
Give me 14 of 21 for 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions.
Wow. The 0 INTs is the most impressive thing to me on that. If he does that, I think the Broncos win. Mase, where are you going?
Very similar. 12 of 19, 163, 1 touchdown, no picks, and also no lost fumbles. So Drew, I think, has his 3rd clean game turnover-wise in his career.
I don't know where you guys are getting this confidence from, but I had it.
I guess
The fact that you have no turnovers for Drew Lock just goes. I mean, that's you're pretty much saying the Broncos are down at halftime, yet they're going to come back and win this game. I mean, Fangio 1-22 in his career, pretty much the exact same odds of saying that Drew Lock's not going to have a turnover.
But I think
they're
both are
2-19,
taking that.
right?
Yeah,
2-19 in games not having any turnovers. Is that correct, Mace?
Yeah, only 2 games that he hasn't had a turnover, and I don't know. I probably am putting too much faith in Pat Shurmur here, but I really think the chips are down. This is going to be a what do we do best game plan here, and it's going to be run, it's going to be play action, Drew under center, catering to his skill set, then catering to the skill set of the entire offense, starting with the offensive line, which wants to get some push and get some momentum, and that means running the ball heavily. Again, if the Colts can do it, why can't the Broncos do this?
Well, the reason is because, I mean, they have one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the NFL. The Broncos are going to be with a backup center. They're going to be with Garrett Holds as he is right now. They're going to be probably with a new starting right guard because I think they'll probably put Meinertz over at center. And so that's why they're not going to be able to truly do it on the offensive line. And guys, I love the confidence. I can't do it. I'm going 18 of 32, 218 yards. So that's more. That's more than both of you. One touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 fumble. So I've got 2 turnovers, and that's why this offense is only putting up 13 points.
If that's the stat line, Zach, that your prediction on the loss will be correct. If that's the stat line, they'll lose.
Definitely.
Hope I'm wrong.
First of all, they can't be throwing the ball over 30 times this week. There's just that is not a winning formula. But
well, Ryan, let me tell you how NFL offensive coordinators work. You get down and then you throw the ball. You abandon the run. That's why it's going to be 32 passes.
Pat Shurmur actually has gotten a little better about this. He listens to the media. And so
it's true.
When the media says, "Hey, you're abandoning the run too early," he says, "Oh, my bad, guys," and then he doesn't do it anymore. When the media says, "Hey, you're not getting the ball to Courtland Sutton enough," he's like, "Oh, okay. Hey, Courtland, you and Jerry switch positions this week, so you can get all of Jerry's targets, even though those routes aren't really designed for you. And Jerry, sorry, bud, you're not going to get anything this week because the media wants the ball to go to Courtland Sutton." So he has gotten a little better about running the ball ever since the media complained about it.
He really has. And guys, my final thing, because again, I wanted to buy this team this week. Daniel says Zach is super pessimistic on Lock. I also saw something that I just can't get out of my head. We know PFF is a tool. It's not everything. You don't base everything off everything that PFF says. But did you guys see where Drew Lock ranks in quarterbacks?
Out of like 55 or something.
Out of 52 quarterbacks,
52.
he ranks 52nd. And the tweet I saw talking about this said he's even pretty far off from the 51st best quarterback.
Yeah, and it was what, at least 40?
I think
so.
so.
What it was? 40 snaps under center this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that they lean enough on the. I think that they lean enough on the running game, and the running game works enough. I'm not really putting this on Drew, and what they're asking of Drew is, hit that little throw to Saubert on a bootleg, and hit Jerry Jeudy going on that over route. That's wide open because you sucked in the linebackers, like all that stuff. I feel like his job is going to be fairly easy now. Am I going to be surprised if there's a turnover or if they go down early and they start chucking that thing around, or if Pat Shurmur isn't smart enough to get out of 3 wide, even with the banged up offensive line? No, I will not be surprised. But it's the holiday season. I'm choosing to believe in a Christmas miracle.
By the way, you want Drew Lock's ESPN QBRs as well as sort of is in line with the PFF ranking? 4.4.
20?
4.4.
4.4.
You
guys want to change your stat predictions or anything?
The sample size is so small that
I know.
But it's also on the heels of him, being one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last year.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do on Sunday to get these numbers at least normalized for him over the course of the season. And but I do think part of my prediction here is I don't have any confidence in this Raiders offense right now. And because of that, I just don't think this game's going to get away from the Broncos. And so I think it'll stay close, and that will compel Pat Shurmur to continue running the ball. Heavy doses of Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, play action looks with Drew. I hope I'm right. I really do, because if I'm wrong, then Pat Shurmur would have lost the plot in this. This is a game the Broncos have no excuse to lose.
And I think honestly, I was going to say, I think honestly the defense is going to continue to look really good.
Yeah.
And at the end of the season, we're going to say, oh my gosh, the Broncos squandered having the best defense in the NFL. It got them nothing.
Yeah, and this Raiders team is really, really bad, guys. Really bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong and the Broncos won.
All right. Well, we still have a lot to get to. But, as super producer Kale said, we talked about Hunter Renfro for 8 minutes. So we got to get this thing rolling here. Tonight, after a long, hard day's work, after this podcast maybe goes all the way into the night, I will be sleeping on my snooze sleep mattress. And guys, I can't say enough good things about this. Not only is it the most comfortable mattress I've ever slept on, but it has options. You can go with the firm side, you can go with the soft side, you can go with the cool side of your cover, or you can go with the warm side of your cover if it ever actually does get cold in Colorado. And this thing is just incredible. Best mattress I've ever slept on. Some of the best night's sleeps I've ever gotten. So check out our friends over at Snooze Sleep at snoozesleep.com and check out that Snooze Flip mattress, the only 4-in-1 mattress with these features. When you use the code DNVR, you can save $500 off a queen mattress and $1,000 off a dual split king with an adjustable base. Incredible deal from an incredible mattress. So check out our friends over at snoozesleep.com and use the code DNVR when you get your mattress.
Guys, tonight when I go to bed, I'm going to be sleeping on my mattress that is stuffed full of cash from my winnings over at DraftKings Sportsbook, because, man, DraftKings has been nice to me recently, and I like the Thursday night game as well. And if you are confident in the Thursday night game? Well, you got to get in on the action. And if you bet $5 on any NBA team to win and they win, you'll get $150 in free bets. And man, that's a great way to start stuffing that mattress with cash. $150 free dollars in bets just by betting $5 on any NBA team to win. And if they do, you get $150 in free bets. And also, if you're on the app right now, you got to take advantage of their holiday bet surprise. I did it. Got a nice free $20 bet. Going to be using that tonight. Ryan got 50. So you got to open up that right now because they've got that going on for 2 more days. Make sure to get on that. So make sure to get in and download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get all of these offers over at DraftKings Sportsbook and get in on some Thursday night action like I'm going to. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Also, get in on the action from the American Raptors. Of course, your Colorado rugby team. It's rebranded to the American Raptors, but this rebrand is here to stay. This is a rugby club composed of crossover athletes. These are guys who are playing rugby after having a background in other sports. It's sports such as football, wrestling, baseball, track and field. Plenty of football players, by the way. If you go to the roster on AmericanRaptors.com, you can see these guys played major college football. You even got guys that played in the pros as well. So these are top-level athletes, and they're taking their athleticism to the game of rugby. Part of this is to try to upgrade what our U.S. national rugby team is on the men's side, to have better performances with better athletes. So if you want to see these guys developing, check out AmericanRaptors.com. They're going to have games next year. They were 5-5 in this past season in terms of their schedule. And you know what? That's a great finish for guys who are just taking up rugby for the first time. So check out the American Raptors. And if you want to go see them play next year, the tickets are free. That's right, free. Head on over to AmericanRaptors.com. Grab your free ticket for the upcoming season. If you can't make the game, AmericanRaptors.com will stream all of those matches from their website. And our guy Colin Strickler has everything covered for you in the DNVR Rugby podcast. Hit that subscribe button. You'll learn about rugby with his Rugby 101 podcast. He's got interviews with the athletes and coaches on the American Raptors, the guys who are hoping to change the game for the U.S. national rugby team. So check everything out at AmericanRaptors.com.
All right, guys, we got a lot of picks. What were you saying, Ryan?
I was going to say, I just want to give a shout out to Carlos, our resident Raiders fan, in the comments here. We always appreciate views from no matter who they come from. So thanks for tuning in.
Big shout out. And guys, we have a lot more games to get to, and so let's travel around not just the AFC, but let's travel around the entire NFL. Pretty much any game that has implications for the Broncos, let's get to right now. And first, let's see those standings, Kale. We really don't have to look at these, though, this week. We can just wait until next week because Mase still sits on top, tied with Ryan, 28-21 records. I'm coming for you guys, 27-22. But look at that. We're all in the green here.
Yeah, pretty crazy just how close everything is this deep into the season. Now, we do side with each other a lot, although I think I've sided with you guys the least of anyone. And so it's crazy that the records are still so similar.
Wow, look how unique you are, Ryan. You're so unique and special there.
Two paths to the same place. It's not all that
exactly.
unique.
It's kind of like Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. So let's go around the AFC West first and pick these other two games. Chargers 9-point favorites going into Houston to play the Texans. Now, of course, maybe one of the reasons these are so similar is we're not picking against the spread here. You can find our picks against the spread on Broncos Pick'em, which we'll post tomorrow. But let's first start Chargers Texans. I think we'll align here.
You know I hate picking the Chargers, but I'm also not crazy. So yeah, give me the Chargers. I think they probably win this game by 30 points.
Well, I mean, they're going to be playing without Joey Bosa. They know that. Austin Eckler said yesterday he doesn't expect to play. Of course, these are guys that are dealing with positive COVID tests right now. And Joey Bosa, he's got to take a little bit longer to come back because he's unvaccinated, so he's got to go through that protocol. But it's the Houston Texans. I mean, it's a dreadful team. And The one thing that could change the outcome is if Justin Herbert has a positive test in the next 48 hours. But aside from that, they're going to have enough to win this game. Give me the Chargers.
Yep, give me the Chargers as well. Easy one. Steelers going into Kansas City. Speaking of COVID, boy, it seems like so many of the Chiefs star players are getting COVID right now. Chiefs 7.5-point favorites. But we don't have to worry about the line, guys. This is a big one in terms of Broncos playoff implications as well. Who do you guys have?
I want to pick the Steelers so bad, but I'll just have to save it for the spread. You know what? No, screw it. I'm doing it. Give me the Steelers. It doesn't sound like they're going to have Kelsey. Doesn't sound like they're going to have Hill. I think that's enough to throw off their offense enough to let the Steelers keep up with them. Some fluky plays happen. Mahomes tries to do too much. Without his, special weapons down the field, he feels like he has to take everything on his own shoulders, and because of that, it makes some mistakes that end up costing them the game.
Really interesting on the Steelers. By the way, early on in the season, like their first 3 games, they won when they were on the road at Buffalo. They lost when they were at home to start the season. But since then, guys, aside from a road win at Cleveland, this team has been one team at home, one team on the road. And on the road, they've lost to Cincinnati by 31, lost the Chargers by 4, lost the Vikings, couldn't complete the comeback there by 8. Even though the Chiefs are going to be shorthanded on the offensive side, I think they'll have enough on the defensive side to eke out a win. So I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Fair.
Yeah, and honestly, people probably say Broncos should be pulling for the Steelers. No, Broncos should be pulling for the Chiefs because the Steelers are in the AFC West or are in the AFC wildcard race with the Broncos. So the Broncos want the Steelers to lose. And then unfortunately, Broncos want the Chiefs to win in order to grab that first lead. So they're playing. I think it's going to happen. I'm picking the Chiefs as well. All right, guys, let's go through these other games not in the AFC West. Quick tonight, 49ers at Titans. Who do you got?
I almost picked the Titans. I was, making my picks for DNVR Bets Daily earlier, and I almost put Titans money line in the slip. And as I was doing it, NFL Network was on, and they said that the Titans are without 3 of their starting offensive linemen. That's enough. That's all I needed to hear. This is a team that, obviously relies on the running game. That's going to be hurt. And then Ryan Tannehill is a guy who can be very efficient in the right situation. If they're going to put this game on it, if they're going to have to put this game on his shoulders with a bad offensive line in front of him, no chance. The Niners have sneakily become good all of a sudden. They're just giving the ball to Deebo Samuel however they possibly can, and that's helping them out a lot. So yeah, I got to go Niners here. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game.
Yeah, this is really interesting, and the Titans right now, they still have a tiebreaker advantage on the Colts, so they're effectively 2 games up in the division because of that. But this week they could blow 1 game of that here starting tonight, and if the Colts win on Christmas Day. I like the 49ers. I like the momentum they've got right now. I think that the Niners eke out a close one here. And look, the Titans kind of have what should be a free space against the Texans at the end of the season, even though they've already lost to the Texans at home. I don't think they'll play that badly again, but Titans going in the wrong direction. Clearly not the same team without Derrick Henry.
I shouldn't be surprised at this, but you guys are really bad at going fast on these. Let's just say I've already got a couple of units on the 49ers. I don't even think it's close. I like the 49ers. All right, Browns, and that would be good news for the Broncos, by the way. Browns at Packers. Christmas surprise here, or is it just going to be a Aaron Rodgers Christmas gift here?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers Christmas gift. Blowout city, Packers by a lot.
Yeah, this is going to be ugly for Cleveland. Green Bay wins comfortably.
I agree. Now, this night one, I think, is actually the real gift of
quick,
Christmas.
I have to extend a little bit. Brown and orange versus green and yellow, maybe the worst color combination of an NFL game ever.
Green and yellow is awesome. I don't know what you're
no,
talking about. It is. Green and yellow is absolutely awesome.
Green and gold's pretty cool, though.
Green,
It's slightly better, but still
green
bad.
and yellow, green and gold. They
Wow.
all work. They all work
said-
well.
I think the Sunday night game, guys, is actually a fantastic game. Colts going into Arizona to play the Cardinals. Which C team do you guys have?
Cardinals are an F team right now, as in frauds.
Your Cardinals? You just
Whoa,
said that about them?
You said that about Cliff and
Yep.
Tyler,
Yep.
your
Yep.
guys?
They've gone fraudulent on me. Honestly, they're a lot like my Madden team. Started out hot, fell apart, and they just don't have the juice right now. I don't know what happened. I honestly think that Kyler injury in the middle of the season, even though they won the games without him, it just kind of threw off their rhythm, threw them out of sync. Vance Joseph is having some Vance Joseph moments recently. I worry about that team mightily. The Colts are the kind of team that they aren't necessarily built for. I've got the Colts in this one. They kind of just go throw punches. Like the Cards are a wounded animal right now, and if they just get punched in the mouth, I think it's gonna be hard for them to pick themselves up.
Isn't it interesting that the Colts, they play their home games with a retractable roof venue, but they're built like a team that should be playing outside in the mud, in the cold. Defense and running game and just enough passing. It's going to be a nice night in Arizona, but give me the Colts in this one, fellas.
Yep. Yeah. Colts as
wow.
well. I thought you both were going to take the Cards, and I thought I was going to get a game here, but nope. All right. On Sunday, Bills at Patriots. This is going to be a good one. Probably more than 3 passing attempts for Mac Jones, I guess.
I can't believe I'm taking this bait again, but I just love Josh Allen so much. I'll take the Bills. I'm really not that confident in it. I'm just picking with what I want to happen here.
This may be the one where you pick it up, Zach, because you can't separate the conditions and the game plan from what happened in Orchard Park a couple of weeks back. I think the Bills get their revenge in this one. The Bills are a better team.
I had thought I was going to be the Lone Ranger there.
Sorry, yeah, but
guys,
look, Buffalo should have beaten the Bucs. They should have.
Yeah.
If they play like that against the Patriots in Foxborough, they'll get the dub.
I think it was Tom Pelissero today that did his like annual awards article where he talks to like all the GMs or a lot of the GMs around the league and puts together an awards. And these GMs and executives in the NFL gave Bill Belichick Coach of the Year. Not a surprise. They gave Bill Belichick Executive of the Year as well. Bill Belichick's going to earn that this Sunday against the Bills and clinch the not just playoff spot. He's going to clinch the division for New England with a rookie quarterback. Zach for Mac. Let's go Pats. Let's go Mac, I should say. And then, guys, 2 more really quick here. We got the Ravens going into Bengals, into Cincinnati. This one is also for the lead.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to use the bounce back effect here. The opposite of all that praise we heaped on Vic Fangio is he's kind of like good luck Chuck, right? Doesn't work out when you play him, but the next game somehow your offense just explodes out of a cannon. So give me the Bengals. They scored whatever it is, 38 points, and beat the Ravens.
It's absolutely wild how many close games the Ravens have played this year. And the last 3 games, guys, they have lost all 3 by a combined 4 points.
Oof.
But you look over the course of the year, they beat the Vikings by 3. They beat the Bears by 3. They beat the Colts in overtime. They beat the Lions by 2 on the Justin Tucker record field goal. The Chiefs by 1. The Ravens are just the cardiac team of the NFL this year. And I'm going to flip the coin and say this one they get on a Justin Tucker walk-off field goal. Baltimore wins on the road in Cincinnati.
Is Lamar Jackson playing?
I think so.
He is.
Okay, because I'm going to go off with the notion that he is playing, and that is a Ravens win. If not, I'm taking the Bengals, but I'm placing my bet right now, so I've got to go Ravens, although I do like your justification there, RK. And then final one, guys, Monday Night Football. Dolphins going into New Orleans. New Orleans was a 3-point favorite. Now they're playing with 4th string quarterback rookie Ian Book. Now the Dolphins are a slight favorite. Of course, Broncos want the Saints to win this game since the Dolphins are the hottest team in the NFL and also in the playoff race with them. Who do you guys have?
The Saints have no chance. None. They're gonna get destroyed. Give me the Dolphins.
I don't think they have no chance because their defense can keep them in it. And we saw like Miami a little bit skittish there last week against the Jets. And almost any quarterback can have a capable game just on a one-off. But I think Miami gets the win here. I don't trust Ian Book in this situation. But even though he had some mistakes last week, I trust Tua.
I loved the Dolphins as underdogs in this game. So you know how I feel about them going up against Ian Book. They're gonna win. They're gonna destroy them. But guys, we had some different picks here. I love it. Next week, I'm gonna be on top of this standings, and I just can't wait. Thank you guys for giving me that opportunity.
How many different picks did you have?
I have.
I don't think you'd have to have at least 2 that you were against both of us.
So Bills and Pats, that's one. I was the only one to not take that. And then also Broncos Raiders. There we go. There's the 2. So I guess I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm not at the top there.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we have a little bit of time here to hit a few comments here, so let's jump into the comments from our great listeners who we love so much. The first one's from C. Fillmore 72. Gentlemen, greeting from the UK. What chance George and Vic can have the kind of conversation where George says, Vic, we're going to bring in a new head coach, but we would love for you to stay with the Broncos as a defensive coordinator. Does Vic's professional pride allow him to take a very public demotion, which would, in all likelihood, work out for the best for him and the team if he ends up leaving the Broncos? A DC job is most likely the next outcome anyway, so why not continue his excellent work here? Wishing you and your families all of the wider DNVR family a happy and healthy Christmas, Christopher. This has to be the end of this. There's a 0% chance of that happening. It is as likely as Tupac being the defensive coordinator for the Broncos next season. It will never happen. It can never happen. We have to put it entirely to bed and never talk about it again.
See, Fillmore, I totally understand where you're coming from with this thinking, but flip it on yourself. Let's say you were in charge of a group of people, maybe your entire company, and you were fired, and they said you have to, but we want to keep you. We're going to give you less money, and you're going to be around all of the same people that know you were fired. Or, just as you mentioned, C. Fillmore, he's gonna get the same job somewhere else with a fresh start, with people that aren't gonna think, this guy just got fired, but he's staying. What a loser! No, he's gonna get that same job somewhere else. So he's gonna go somewhere else, get a fresh start. I totally see where you're coming from, like a dream world sort of thing. Of course, it'd be great to keep Vic Fangio around as defensive coordinator. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, Tupac is going to be the defensive coordinator before that happens.
Yeah, the only way that happens is if a decade or 2 passes. Kind of like Wade Phillips got fired by Pat Bowlen, and then a couple of decades later, he comes back for his triumphant return as defensive coordinator. You gotta. That's going to have to marinate for a little while before
Only thing is, I don't think a couple decades are passing and Vic's still going to be trying to do this.
Vic LeBeau was still coordinating defenses at like 80 years old. So
that's true.
Wouldn't Vic be 83 if it was 2 decades from now?
Yeah.
82?
Yeah, that's a lot.
70 is the new 60. 80 is the new 70.
First of all, I played golf with my 80-year-old uncle last week, and he legitimately hits bombs. So I'm not putting my mind was blown. He was hitting bombs. So I'm not holding. I'm not saying any 80-year-old can't do anything. But like for real, we have to stop this. It's in my mentions all day, every single day. Like I can't believe that people think this is a possibility. It's not. Is there any precedent for this ever, Mase?
Oh God, not in the NFL. I can't recall it other than like an interim coach, then kind of going back to
right,
going back to being an assistant. I know like that happened with Dante Scarnecchia in New England. I mean, I'm thinking of other sports. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. to be honest.
so unprecedented.
Yeah.
And Zach, I don't even know if it's as much about like the pride part of it as it would be so awkward for everyone. Like it makes on paper it makes a ton of sense. Like for Vic Fangio, even same job, you get to live in the same house, you don't have to move, you get all of that work that you did. It doesn't get undone. You don't have to start all over. You already know all the personnel. You got me sold on all that. It's just never, ever, ever has happened that way. So there's no reason to think he would be any different. And to be honest, of all people, Vic Fangio is not going to be the one to set this precedent. Like, he's a very prideful, stubborn man. He's not gonna think he should be fired. He's gonna be very upset if they fire him. He's gonna think it's BS. He's not going to be like, yeah, but sure, of course, I'll work under the next guy that you came in to replace me. No chance. I will, run a marathon barefoot if that happens.
Wow, maybe we'll get Ryan running a barefoot marathon soon. That would be very bloody.
I mean, kind of the closest thing that's ever happened, guys, is with Mike Munchak losing out on the job.
Yeah,
right.
And working for Vic Fangio.
It's a good point.
Right, and I was thinking like maybe there's a case of like a college coach who was like legendary, like played for the school, then became the head coach or something. Great, it was a great defensive mind or whatever, but it didn't work out for him as the head coach. He still wanted to stay around the university. Like, that's the only way I could think of this. But Vic Fangio has no connections to Denver or the Broncos or anything like that would make him be able to, put all that stuff aside.
And usually in the college environment, that those people end up going to like some fundraising position or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
This reminds me of like the Peyton Manning for offensive coordinator thing that was floating around a couple years ago.
Right. All right, guys. Let's change the tune of this and go to Jazzy Bronco. Thanks for the content, guys. You all are the best. Thank you, Jazzy. So hyped for Sunday as I will be in the stands for my first live game. Win one for me. Questions for today. What do each of you remember about your first NFL game? I was raised in a rural area about 2.5 hours away from Salt Lake City, and my dad would take us to 2 to 3 games a year growing up. And while I have a lot of great memories with the Jazz growing up, I don't remember my first. I do have vivid memories of my first MLB game as I featured the only Grand Slam I have seen live by Larry Walker. Thanks for all the great content, and hopefully Game 2 will start featuring, or will feature starting with the tailgate before Russell Wilson leads us into Denver wins next year.
Yeah, I've told this story a couple times on the show, but very vague memory from my first ever NFL game. It was at Old Mile High, and people can attest to this. The upper level of Old Mile High was like more steep than Mount Everest. And I was so little that my mom had me on her lap, and every time that she like got excited or like cheered and kind of like jolted a little bit, I thought I was gonna fall off of her lap and just go tumbling down, the incredibly steep stairs. That's the one thing I remember. I vaguely remember it being against Jacksonville, but I can't be sure of it.
Mine was actually one that we talked about yesterday, and it was Mase. What was the Christmas Eve game where Bengals. It was snowing and the ball went through the snapper's hand? Yep, that was it, and it was so cool. It was everything I could have wanted because it was not only a Broncos win, last minute thing, Christmas Eve, but also I associate snow games with the best NFL games. That is football weather to me, and so it just had all of that, plus a white Christmas.
Yeah, it's funny because like I like my football weather a little bit warmer. Maybe with you, that's your first memory of being in person, and it's frozen in time. For me, the first NFL game I ever went to was I think like 63 degrees and sunny on a crisp October day in Washington, 1986. St. Louis Cardinals playing in Washington at old RFK Stadium, and I just remember you watch something on television all the time, and then you walk in and you see it with your own eyes for the first time. It seems just bigger than life. I was 10 years old, and I was just awestruck experiencing it all. And Washington they were really good back then. Joe Gibbs was coaching. It took a 21-0 lead. Cardinals came back, ended up having a chance to win on the last play. Washington got the stop, so there were some big plays. Went down to the last second. A lot of fun. I mean, I couldn't have asked for more from the first game. I have
a special love for the cold weather games. because of like the camaraderie that I think it builds within the stands. Like you're looking around and it's like 1 degree out, and you're like, we all are choosing to stand out here in weather that we would never, ever, ever decide to stand out for any other reason, because we're all here to support and cheer on this team that we all love. It's like this extra layer of the camaraderie that already exists within the stands that I just love it.
That's a great point. It is makes you a little warm too. Next one
Shared
from Omaha. Jared Suffering. Omaha says, although I really couldn't care less about the Pro Bowl, it's truly laughable to say Denzel Ward or Xavier Howard had a better year than Patrick Surtain. Here's to hoping the snub motivates the young man over the next 3 weeks and he earns an all-pro nod. Also was wondering at what point you guys will start to worry about Jerry Jeudy being labeled as a bust. Does he need to play with a real quarterback before this is true?
I think absolutely. And that's the craziest part of all of this. Like, yes, there are certain things that you look at with Vic Fangio and you say, well, how would a quarterback fix his time management issues or his inability to get a challenge correct? And they really don't. But I think it's impossible to judge almost anything in the NFL when they don't have a quarterback. So Jerry Jeudy obviously being in the number one thing most dependent on the quarterback position, I think we really need to see that. And with a different offensive coordinator than Pat Shurmur, who clearly doesn't know how to use him. That's what I'm waiting for. Hopefully we get both next year, a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback for Jerry.
Yeah, I think the only thing I sometimes think of Demaryius Thomas, and we've been thinking a lot about the late Demaryius Thomas recently for obvious reasons, but Demaryius started to emerge when Tim Tebow was the quarterback. And so I think sometimes you see those glimpses, even if you've got a less than stellar quarterback. So I wonder if maybe the ceiling on Jerry Jeudy is changing from being like a top 3 and top 4 elite wide receiver to somebody who's just pretty good, very, very solid, but maybe isn't an all-world type of guy like I think maybe we thought he was when the Broncos drafted him.
If Jerry Jeudy has another statistical year like next year, I don't really care who the quarterback is. The bust is definitely going to be thrown out, whether it's fair or not, but it would mean just more injuries and a lack of production. Obviously, we know that if Jerry was healthy this whole year, he'd be on pace for an 800-yard season. I mean, that is certainly not bust status. It's certainly also not stratospheric status in terms of like an all-timer at the wide receiver position, but he wouldn't be a bust then. But if we're talking about back-to-back seasons of 500 yards, yeah, I don't care who the quarterback is. That bust word's going to be thrown out. Now, is it fair? No, if he doesn't have a quarterback and it's for injuries, but it will be used.
And what sucks is in that first game of the season when he got injured, he was having a great game. And, it was like 7 catches for 80 yards or something along those lines.
Yeah, he was on pace for like 10 catches or 11 catches over 100 yards.
And it all got derailed.
And it was a high ankle sprain. So he came back. But as we've seen in the past, Julius Thomas, for example, sometimes it can be quite a while, even if you're able to return to play, before you are right again from the high ankle sprain.
It's so weird. It's like there's one thing that I could advise NFL players, or just football players in general, is that like playing it below 100% does you such a disservice. And I realize all these guys want to be out there and they want to get in, like there's all this pressure to get it out there as fast as you possibly can. And I totally understand it. You got to go be with your brothers, with your teammates, but playing at below 100% just destroys you in the public eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does, because people don't care about that. People don't want to hear about the injury.
Yeah.
And Daniel Sapp says then you got to give Sutton a little pass coming back from the ACL. I've tried. I think that there is something to do with that. But there's also little things like a slant going right through your hands that have nothing to do with your ACL. So there's, it's a little bit of both. I think he's pressing, which is probably compounding the issue that he's not necessarily healthy. And then he's, trying to, change everyone's mind because he can hear the murmurs about him having, a down season, and it just, those things start to compound on each other.
I mean, you can literally look at the drop slant and then the dropped deep ball from Teddy Bridgewater on Sunday. I mean, I know we've obviously focused on Drew Lock because he's going to start this game, but there were a lot of other plays that factored into that loss, including a touchdown pass that literally bounces off of Sutton's chest and goes astray.
One of the best throws Teddy's had since the Jags game.
Yeah, seriously. And I laugh when you say Sutton's pressing, because our good friend Pat Shermer was asked about, is Cortland Sutton pressing? And he just gave the most Shermer answer. He was kind of like, I don't even know what pressing it. What do you mean by pressing? Like, who can explain if a guy's pressing? And then just went on to talk about something completely else. And what's just so funny about that is, like, dude, everyone knows what that means. Like, you can just say no, I don't think he is, and move on. But to like question the word that's used was a bit ridiculous.
Especially from a guy who used to be a head coach. You know, like sometimes those guys who are very unseasoned on the stand have like those types of weird reactions to questions. But this is a guy I'm sure he's heard that question dozens of times.
Yes. You think Eli Manning's pressing? Yeah. I'm sure he's heard that.
And like, what do you mean? It's very obvious. It means trying to be more, trying to go outside of themselves to do more. Like, it's a very easy explanation.
He did wish everyone a Merry Christmas, which I thought was very touching.
Well, thanks, Pat.
He said, I hope everyone gets a couple of minutes to spend and enjoy with their family this weekend. I'm like, oh my gosh, NFL coaches are just, they take this stuff way too seriously. Enjoy Christmas or Christmas Eve.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Probably got time for one or two more here. And this one's from Patty. DNVR team, I wanted to say that I had a great time at the tailgate. I'm from Kansas, and the experience was phenomenal. Hell yeah, I love to hear that. Sunday, I was determined to purchase a new jersey, but since the departure of Von Miller, I was second-guessing on which player to choose from. Being that, obviously, if we were in a bid for a new QB, what player on the current roster would no longer be on the roster? Has the Broncos been one of the most unmarketable teams this season? Only 2 primetime games, 0 players elected to the Pro Bowl. I do believe Justin Simmons is the current face of the Broncos, being selected for Walter Payton Man of the Year, captain of our team, and the most consistent player alongside PS2, Melvin Gordon, and Javonte Williams. The question is, who would you be willing to give up if any draft picks would trade for the next QB for the 2022 season to be in that top tier of elite franchises once again?
Ask Zach. Ask Zach.
Anyone. I mean, you just mentioned 4 guys. I'll trade them all in order to get a top tier quarterback.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio yesterday, and there was someone on that show had a similar take, and the co-host was like, "What? You just think that all that matters is the quarterback?" And the other guy was like, "Yeah." I was just like, I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. Now, obviously, once you have a quarterback, you have to build the right team around them, right? Like, you see what happens with Russell Wilson in Seattle. As the pillars around him start to crumble, he can't be the same guy. But the reverse of that is you could have all of those things, every pillar except for that main one in the middle, the quarterback, and you've got nothing. So I mean, I know, like, I totally understand fan attachment to players and saying, like, I can't believe you want to give up one of our guys for someone who isn't even one of our guys. And I understand why people are pressed back on that, but I'm with you, Zach. There is a point where you say, okay, that's too much, but it's way, way down the road. You pretty much make anyone available if you're going to get an elite quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the two names, our guy.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, the 2 names that everyone gets so freaked out when I say, yes, trade Pat Surtain and Javonte Williams, but rip the Band-Aid off now instead of in 4 years when you're even more attached to them. When that Band-Aid sits on for longer and you pull it off, I mean, you may even get some skin that comes off. Right now, if you're ripping it off, you're just getting a little bit of hair. It's going to hurt a little bit, and then that skin is going to look so good underneath with that new quarterback.
Yeah. You'll just never get people on board with that, because those are the 2 players that they love right now. But I don't.
When it's hypothetical, people, I agree, will push back. But let's say a trade happens right now and the Broncos land Russell Wilson. No one's going to be missing them. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, we got Russ. This is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say all last offseason, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about this offseason as it relates to who should be traded, who shouldn't be traded, who needs to be traded, and what's it going to take to get it done. To be fair, the Broncos now actually have assets. Like last offseason, we were struggling to come up with who the people would even be that another team would want. Now they're very clear, and yeah, that hurts a little bit more, but it might actually give you the opportunity to make that deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Keeks here. Oh, since he came in with the super chat, I'll give him the buzzer beater. Trading everything for a quarterback is how you end up like the Texans with Watson, in my opinion. Don't forget that it was just a couple of years ago that the Texans had a lead on the Chiefs in the playoffs. With
Yeah,
Deshaun
exactly. Exactly. And then what happened? Well, we know everything that happened this last offseason, but we also know that Bill O'Brien was terrible for them.
Yeah.
Now he can go be successful as Alabama's offensive coordinator, just like anyone can be. But if you have that bad of a head coach, yes, it can bring your entire organization down. So just make sure you don't have a truly dysfunctional head coach, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like Houston was making trades willy-nilly because they gave up a first-round pick, a future one, to move up 13 slots and get Watson. But then remember they also traded a second-round pick to get Brock Osweiler off of their books. I mean, but that being said,
they also traded away DeAndre Hopkins.
Right, they made some incredibly dumb deals that they didn't give up too much to get Deshaun Watson. That's not what caused their talent deficit. It was the deal, the Hopkins deal, like you mentioned, and just over and over. They had a lot of poor drafts, and it became a very hollow roster over time, and they still don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, and that goes to that same point. It's like your job isn't done once you get the quarterback, but it can't even really start until you have them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was great. A lot of good conversations, and that's why we went extra long today. Appreciate everyone who hung out. The numbers just kept growing throughout the show, so appreciate all you guys for hanging out. This will be our last show before the game on Sunday, so appreciate everyone who hung out this week. I hope everyone has an incredible holiday, spending time with their family. Hope everyone gets some good presents, and we'll see you on Sunday, guys. You two especially have a great holiday, and talk to you guys soon. Of course, before we get out of here, a shout out to Green Mountain Dental Group, where you can get a free Sonicare toothbrush as a great present if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam. Just 15 minutes outside of downtown Denver there in Lakewood. Go check out our friends over at Green Mountain Dental Group. Again, everyone have a happy holiday, and we will see you on Sunday.